Right, so I've set up in a Docker container, well, in two Docker containers. I'll just open a new window. Sudo Docker, yes. Okay, so you can see in this window the two Docker containers, ls PCI, rep VGA. So I've got two graphics adapters. One of them's actually an Epic. One of them's actually Instinct. It's labelled here as Radeon V2. That's what that's saying. Anyhow, you can see an NV top up here. I've got a pair of GPUs. One of them's the Radeon. One of them's GTX 1660. So I've got the GTX 1660 running this screen right now, and I've got like a server grade GPU running in the background for, it's running Rockham to run the well, it's GPT OSS, but it doesn't matter what the model is so much. It's running Ollama on the GPU, but it's running here in a Docker container. So all the driver and the Open Compute module and everything is running in that Docker container, and I've got another Docker container which is providing a web interface, and I'm able to access that from all my computers on the network. Anyhow, I've asked it a silly question here. Just write me a story. You can see that up the top here, write me a story. So it's come up with this, the Clockmaker's Daughter. Now you can look at what its thinking is. Here you can say, the user, write me a story. No other constraints, we need to produce a story, likely blah blah blah. You can read here that the thought process, in inverted commas, of the model, exploring ideas and then building the actual response. So I'll hide that. And this is actually the story it's written, which is, a pretty good story. Now, I remember as a kid, my parents are from Austria, so I remember a recipe for Auflauf, and I ask it, do you have a recipe for Auflauf? Now it's a kind of a, I'll call it a cake, I can't think of a better word right now. Okay, so it's, you see the dot here, it's processing what I've typed. Now you can see the thinking. Now it's going to give me a recipe, apparently, for a casserole. And so that's not what I'm looking for. But it's given me a decent recipe, and you can see the process here is pretty good. I think typically this thing's been getting around 40 tokens a second from every test I've done so far. We're running to 72 degrees here on that GPU. It's got 16 gigabytes, so it's reasonably useful. Okay, so I'm going to say I was thinking of a cake-like cake. It was kind of a batter arrangement. Thing. Why is everything we don't have a name for always called a thing? Thing that my mother used to make. See what it makes of that. Let's see what its thinking is. It might be referring to a German cake called Auflauf, like a layered cake or a typical off-loft, da da da. So it's going through the different possibilities. Let's see how we go. So that's not what I'm looking for. It's giving me casserole. Mean, very tight, a bit like a pancake. So I'm asking it something awkward and giving it very incomplete information. So it's going to be interesting to see what it comes up with. 30.7 tokens a second. Prompt tokens a second, 462 was the last response. So that's kind of cool. It's taking its time. I suppose it's digesting the context of what we've already got in the chat. Oh, what have we got now? Give yourself life. That sounds right. Okay, this looks like quite plausible. I like how the recipe is kind of open-ended, so it's not locking you down to, exactly a certain recipe, but a bit of a dynamic recipe. So it's kind of clever the way it's doing that. Anyway, I thought that was quite interesting, and the performance is pretty good. I'm running on an Epic server. Let me just run btop. It's an older EPIC server, but it's 32 cores, 64 threads. There we go. I don't know how well that shows up in the video, but here we go. So that's a CPU usage. Let me just do something so you can watch BTOP do its little dance. Give something to do. Do you have a recipe? This would be good for the Kiwis. Oh, if I could type, it'd be good. For Kiwis always have a certain cake. What is it? Pavlova, that's the one. I'll be able to test this with my wife's knowledge later on. Discs. Caged. Yep, so that's the GPU usage. There's not much CPU usage on this. Most of that's spent on screen recording, I'll bet. And the GPU is doing pretty much all the work. So yeah, it's pretty tidy the way it's running. Bit hard to read when it bounces around, but here we are. Nice. Response 26 tokens a second response, and prompt was 351 tokens a second. Well, I guess that's it. Let's just stop there. Alright.